take a second to acknowledge that. What they said, the story they told, was awful. But that's what it is.
Yeah, counsel, I just want to make sure that your voice, that everybody's able to hear you.
I'll bring it up.
I can see that. That's what it is. A story. A story that the state is hoping that you will find so compelling, so emotional, that you will rush to judgment. That you will have already made up your minds. This case is about a rush to judgment. They judged first. They pointed the finger at William Kelly, and they built a case around that judgment second. A case cobbled together not by evidence, but by a story. A story that they will feed you about an evil man. The rush to judgment began because her blood was on his hands. When the police and the EMTs arrived, Christine's blood was literally on William Kelly's hands. There's a saying in the English language that many of us have heard before. To have someone's blood on our hands means to be responsible for that person's death, to be at fault, to be guilty. The police zeroed in on the man with blood on his hands, and they never looked back. They wanted to hold someone accountable for what appeared to be a gruesome crime, and they wanted to do it immediately. It is human nature to jump to the most obvious conclusion first. But our Constitution exists to protect us all from the pitfalls of human nature. It places a roadblock in front of the massive machine that is the state. A machine that would otherwise chug along to a quick condemnation. You are that roadblock. You stand in the way. You are here to uphold the constitutional promise that protects us all. And your job is to demand evidence, not easy assumptions, not stories. Our Constitution requires objective, unbiased evidence. In order to convict William Kelly of murder, as the state is asking you to do, they must present you with objective, unbiased evidence that convinces you beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty. That evidence simply does not exist. Because William Kelly did not kill Christine Falzone, and he did not kill their unborn child. Their deaths were a tragedy. They are a tragedy that he is enduring, not one that he caused. William Kelly is not guilty. The police and the ambulance crews responded to 332 Water Village Way on December 17th, 2023, because William Kelly asked them to. At 11:43 that morning, William Kelly, or Billy, as you will hear people refer to him, called 911 to get help for his girlfriend, Christine, who he had just found unconscious and bleeding on the floor. You will hear the fear and emotion in his voice as he yells into the phone, trying to respond to the operator's questions. He is distracted because while he's talking, he's also performing CPR, trying to revive her. The operator keeps having to repeat her questions, and Billy keeps saying, I don't know. Right? His voice is raised, he's out of breath, he's scared, and he is 100% focused on saving Christine. Billy doesn't know what happened, so he's offering guesses in response to the operator's questions. Maybe she didn't take her medication. Maybe that caused some sort of issue. Maybe she fell. Maybe she has a concussion. Maybe she has head trauma because she's bleeding from the mouth. He doesn't know, so he's guessing. He's trying to help. He is grasping for a reason amid the chaos. At the same time, Billy is trying to save Christine's life. You will hear him doing CPR on the 911 call, counting along with the operator for guidance. He moves Christine flat on her back and closer to the door so that he actually has room to help her. He tells the dispatcher there's blood coming out of her nose and mouth. What do I do? And she tells him he needs to clear her airway. Turn her to the side and wipe the blood away. He does what she says. You'll hear from the EMTs that he is still performing chest compressions when they arrive about 15 minutes later. His hands and arms and face are unsurprisingly covered in Christine's blood. The EMTs arrive with the Ossipee police and immediately go to work. You'll hear a lot about the cramped, cluttered, one-room shack where Billy and Christine lived. It's so small that when the crew comes in, Billy gets pushed toward the back where he's stuck while the chaotic scene unfolds. No exit, no way to get air. 4 EMTs are surrounding Christine from all sides. Police officers with guns and badges flank the doorway. Billy is crying and pacing around in the tiny space that he has. They will tell you he was distraught. He kept asking them if she was going to make it, and Christine was still not breathing. Billy was in a state of emotional overload. Adrenaline, devastation, shock, and fear. He is watching the person he loves dying in front of him, and there's nothing he can do about it. All the while, he's being peppered with questions that ring through him like accusations. How long have her eyes been like this? What happened here? Billy is obviously aware, even amidst the chaos and the turmoil, that they are looking at him with raised eyebrows and pointed fingers, that he is a suspect. The state just told you about some of the statements that he made to the EMTs in this emotional state. They want you to impart a rational, calculated criminality to his words. In a situation incompatible with rational thought, they have presented these statements as evidence of guilt. But think about what he did not do. He did not try to hide Christine's body. He did not flee the scene. He did not leave her there to die or try to cover up something that had happened. He called 911. He brought all of these people, the full power of the state, right to his doorstep to try to save Christine's life. But despite everything that he tried to do, despite the emergency crew's valiant efforts, Christine didn't make it. Unfortunately, tragically, Christine and her unborn baby died that day. Right then and there, his home became a crime scene, and William Kelly the suspect. Billy was ordered out of the house and made to sit in a plastic chair by the fence in the cold. He was ushered down to the police station where they executed a search warrant. They confiscated his clothes, swabbed for his DNA, took photos of his naked body. It could not have been more clear. To the police, this was their man. He never left the police station that night. Less than 12 hours after the police responded, before an autopsy was done, before any evidence was tested, before interviews were completed, William Kelly was placed under arrest for second-degree murder. Point the finger first, build a case later. The next day, Dr. Mitchell Weinberg of the Office of the Medical Examiner conducted Christine's autopsy. Dr. Weinberg concluded that Christine's cause of death was multiple blunt force injuries. He will tell you that, in his opinion, the totality of her injuries was not consistent with an accident or a medical event, and the state will ask you to accept that opinion without scrutinizing it. But that is exactly what you are here to do. All of us, even experts, make mistakes. All of us succumb to confirmation bias, to assumptions, to tunnel vision. Dr. Weinberg conducted a routine autopsy in a non-routine case. He was not equipped for the complicated physiological circumstances that Christine's case presented, and he did not seek input from someone who was. His opinion is compromised because of it. Dr. Weinberg failed to do two critical things. First, he did not try to determine whether Christine had any pregnancy-related medical complications that involve bleeding disorders. This matters because there are conditions related to pregnancy which can cause a pregnant woman to bruise and bleed excessively. You will learn throughout this trial that this pregnancy was high risk. Christine was a former drug user. She and Billy were living in extremely unsanitary conditions with mold and rust and no running water. She was receiving no prenatal medical care. This was a high-risk pregnancy, and a high-risk pregnancy can come with dangerous medical complications. Dr. Weinberg will tell you very candidly that he is a general forensic pathologist. He is not a placental pathologist or an obstetrician or a specialist in maternal fetal medicine. Those experts do exist, and he easily could have consulted with them, but he did not. He did not conduct a placenta exam or any specialized testing beyond his routine autopsy procedures, nor did he consult with someone who is an expert in those areas. As a result, he cannot rule out with certainty the possibility that a complication of pregnancy contributed to Christine's death. The second thing Dr. Weinberg failed to do was to try to narrow down which injuries actually occurred on the day of Christine's death. He did not sample her bruises, her fractures, or the blood in her abdomen to try to determine how old any of those injuries actually were. In reaching his opinion, Dr. Weinberg relied on the totality of Christine's injuries. He will tell you, and the state just told you, that he believes it was the total combined blood loss from all of the bruises on her body that caused her to die. But you will hear from every EMT and the investigator for the medical examiner's office and from Dr. Weinberg himself that Christine's bruises were in various states of healing. He will not be able to tell you how old they were, whether any of the bruises were fresh, as in likely to be from the day of her death. He will not be able to tell you whether those bruises were superficial or deep, which would impact the amount of blood loss each one of them would cause. He could have obtained this information. Dr. Weinberg could have performed a layered dissection of the tissue and actually sampled those bruises under a microscope to look for this evidence. But he did not do this, nor did he sample her fractures or the blood in her abdominal cavity. And why is this important? Because Dr. Weinberg will not be able to tell you which of Christine's injuries occurred on the day of her death, or which one actually caused her death, or what the mechanism of her death even was. This leaves us with critical questions that Dr. Weinberg cannot answer. Was Christine suffering from a bleeding disorder that caused excessive bruising? Is this why she was bruised all over her body? If so, was there one specific trauma or medical event that day that could have caused her death? We will never know, because Dr. Weinberg did not seek those answers. His autopsy sought to confirm, not to discover, Christine's cause of death. But with that autopsy report, the rush to judgment found another shaky leg to stand on. From the state's perspective, the case against William Kelly was justified. But it still wasn't enough, and they knew that. There was not, and there still is not, a shred of direct evidence that William Kelly killed Christine Falzone. So they had to come up with the evil man story. A story of William Kelly as callous, uncaring, chronically depressed, and perpetually angry. They will feed you that story throughout this trial to try to convince you that he is the type of person that would have killed Christine. That evil man, as they will present him to you, concealed Christine and her pregnancy away in their shack. But you will hear today from Christine's father, Dominic, that he believes she had her own reasons for wanting to hide her pregnancy from others. Not just from her family, but also from the state. Reasons that had nothing to do with Billy. That evil man, as they will present him to you, was always angry. The neighbors constantly heard him shouting, so much so that it was part of the soundtrack of their daily lives. But they never thought twice about it, and it never raised any alarms. He'd often be shouting at the goats, or at his dog, or at no one at all. And although they heard him shouting on the morning of December 17th, it was not notable to them. Not until the police came around asking about it. And finally, that evil man, as they will present him to you, cared more about his dog than his girlfriend. Yes, Billy was concerned about his dog, Chance. Yes, Billy loved that dog. Chance was part of his family. But don't fall for the false binary, that just because he cared about his dog means that he did not care about Christine. Billy loved Christine. According to one friend who the state will call as a witness, he was always thinking about her, always talking about her, always wanting to stop somewhere and to pick up something to bring back for her. And on December 17th, Billy was absolutely distraught as he watched her die. Your verdict must be based on evidence, not on an evil man's story, not a rush to judgment, and not on the overwhelming emotion that you will undoubtedly feel. This was a tragedy. There is no question about it. You can feel that deep in your bones, but you still must do the job that you promised to do. Be analytical, to scrutinize the evidence fairly and methodically, to give William Kelly a fair trial, because that is what he deserves. Because an unjust conviction, one based on a rush to judgment, or on emotion, or on an impulse to hold someone accountable, would only compound the tragedy of this case. It's an awesome responsibility, said the other day. Demand evidence. Demand proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Hold the state to its incredibly high burden. And when they don't meet that burden, find William Kelly not guilty of